Welcome to today's fish video. Today we talk again about the RedSea 425 XL. We are now in week 3, so that's 3 weeks since I moved the tank here into the fish room. And things are doing quite okay. I have definitely a little bit of phosphate issue, so I think it's because I stirred a lot the sand when I moved the tank here. I moved all the rocks around and had to move the sand probably almost everywhere around, so all that phosphate went back into the water, and I didn't really change any water even when I moved the tank here. So we have a quick look to that one. And then on the other side we also have a look at the Frag Tank, because I was always so happy that it's ultra clean, and now I have definitely a little outbreak of diatoms, so we look into that one and see what we can improve on that one as well. So let's get there. So the tank itself is really doing good. It's definitely, especially that kind of high phosphate, which I'm a little bit concerned about. I'm not concerned, but it's just something I definitely want to keep an eye on it, and maybe make a water change to see if I can slowly bring that a little bit down. I also see that here and there, even in the sand, like it turns a tiny little bit. I don't even really know if that's diatom at all, because like last week when I checked here on the back, there was definitely more diatom there than now, so I feel like that kind of balanced itself again a little bit in. So that's good. By the way, you see here little snail that tipped over. I'm still happy having these trochus snails. I feel like it's the name, because they can always flip around themselves, and because otherwise I would always have to remove the lid on the top and then go down with my arm. Everything gets wet, so I usually try to keep my hands out of the tank as much as possible. It's something I saw in another reef video from somebody who said like he would really only put his hand inside if one of his big favorite corals would be completely tipped over or something like this. And even with any other coral, he would just leave it and just try to keep the hands as much out of the tank as possible. I just remember when I started off the hobby, I feel like I rearranged the rocks every 2 or 3 days all the time, and maybe then I was surprised why things are not really worked out that great. So that's definitely also a tip from me, to keep the hands always as much as you can out of the tank. Other than this, I also see the Coraline Algae on the back. If you see there, that definitely gets still a little bit into the browner part. And again, if you following me on that reef journey here, you saw maybe a couple videos ago that I moved that tank, so the Coraline Algae on the back was completely out of the water, and that's usually when it kind of dies off and then it turns to that brown. But I still kind of want to leave it inside, because I'm sure I did that already one time before. It's kind of, the Coraline can easily just grow again back onto the existing layer who is there on the back, so I just leave that in. Another thing I also did was I was moving here a little bit, that I feel like it's a short Polyp Gonipora here on that rock in the back, and I would just like that it encrusts over that stone somehow. I'm not sure if Gonipora are actually really encrusting, but whatever that one is, that short green polyp one, definitely looks like it's at least encrusted over the whole plug, over the frag plug. So that one would be nice if it goes all over that rock. That's why I put it here a little bit on the back. Always make sure if you have corals, you don't want that it grows over all of your system, then just put it on a little rock and just separate it a little bit from the other parts that it cannot take over your tank. Maybe also, because you see, like I have so many encrusting Multiporters here in my tank, maybe at one point I probably slightly regretted that I have so many inside, because they just kind of encrust on top of each other. But I feel like that's the interesting thing with the reef hobby, that you always learn new things, and you always, every time I feel like all of us or all of the people who have a tank for longer than a couple months, they would again do things completely different. I feel like that's why it's such a thing that everybody who has reef tanks always wants to have one more and more, like I have here. That second frag tank, so I definitely don't make a reef tank out of that frag tank, but I'll just go on with that and see where it goes. I definitely frag back again some things, especially the Multipora I have here on that side, the Multipora capricornis, the purple one, and probably my favorite coral on the whole tank is, one is that Stylophora there in the back, that kind of ocean bluish color, and definitely the other one I'm a huge fan about is that slime ball Anacropora here on the front. I don't know if you can really see that, but on the island it kind of completely branches off, and it just has that very nice looking growth pattern, and I just like the green. It's just kind of a nice color. It gives very good contrast to the other corals in the tank, so that's definitely a favorite. The one that grows a little bit like a weed is that Anacropora here on the bottom. I have actually 3 pieces of them. I have put here one on the side, on that side. Then number 2 is, as I said, that one, and then number 3 is here on the back. And now guess how old these guys are. That colony, or these 3 colonies, were one piece, and they all originated out of a frag, which was kind of that size I have here. It really grows fast, but I still like it more than for example, a bird's nest coral. I don't have any of them in my tank, because the thing I don't really like on the bird's nest is they grow very fast, which could be actually a nice thing, but they are so thin branches most of the time. So anytime you want to frag them or do anything, like they just kind of, like, you barely touch them and everything falls apart. The closest coral to a bird's nest is actually here, that German blue digitada. It has actually kind of a green skeleton and these kind of purple bluish polyps. Looks very cool, I think, and it's definitely much thicker branches than a bird's nest, and it doesn't really grow that fast, but I feel like it just gives a very nice little addition to the tank here. So that's the update on the RedSea 425. The only other thing I have to do also soon, if we quick have a look here into the tank, I have here the roller mat, and I soon have to change the roll on that one. So the clean side actually is already pretty soon. I run out of that fleece, or what it is, so I have to exchange that probably next week, because in 2 weeks I'm out away from home for a couple of days, so I just definitely want to make sure I don't run out of the paper then. Then the skimmer is still doing good. Let me also here quick, that's a cool thing on these RedSea skimmers. It actually has an integrated thing that you can clear that window there, that you always nicely see where the where you have the foam level. So, but that's all good. I'm actually, in the beginning, I did a lot of things on the sump, but now I just kind of like to keep it simple. I don't have that much gear underneath. Like it's definitely, obviously, there's still a couple things underneath there, but I just kind of like to keep it simple. And also the cable management, I know I could make that much nicer, but just all the time when you make maintenance or something, it's just hard then to take stuff out if all the cables are tied up with zip ties and everything. So I choose the way that I make it simple for myself, and then I most likely do more often the maintenance then, because it's not that big of a pain to remove everything out of the cabinet there. The thing I wanted to show you guys on the Frag Tank is, so there's definitely here and there some diatoms, especially also all over the rack here, and just again like a lot of debris on the bottom, which I still kind of want to clean up, just that it looks nice, because on the Frag Tank it's not really that problematic. I can take all the frags out, put them quick in a bucket, then remove the frag racks, completely clean them. So I most likely do that this weekend. But another thing I had was, for whatever reason, so the green goblin Anacropora, that one is doing actually quite nice in here, but that red Anacropora, I definitely always lose a little bit coloration. Also the red Tigitada loses coloration, as well as the green Monty Cap there. So I know, like from what I know, usually when a coral starts bleaching a little bit, it could be that you have too much light, or it could also be that you have just not a lot of nutrients in the system. So the coral, even they are most likely, for the most part, just photosynthetic, or what the name is for that one. So they actually just mostly need the light, but I feel like they still need some kind of nutrition in the water. And usually, obviously in that tank here, I have a lot of fish inside, which eat fish food, obviously, and then they kind of have their waste that goes into the water. So there's a lot of nutrition there. But in that tank, I only have two. I actually started off with 3 tiny little shrimps inside there, but one somehow got lost. Probably, I don't know if they ate him. So that's why I also started to a little bit feed that tank with some pellets. And I feel like because I started to feed the tank with the pellets, I created then that outbreak of the diatoms. So let's see. Another thing I actually had in mind is, because I feel like that's usually what's happened to every beginner. They get that kind of these diatom outbreaks, and then everybody usually overreacts and changes everything, right? Take everything out, change all the water you can and everything, and then it makes it even worse. So maybe as a little experiment, what I also maybe could do is just don't touch it, leave it inside like it is, like as a little experiment, and then let's give it 1 or 2 weeks and see if it increases or actually goes back. Because a thing I definitely learned also over these years with these fish tanks, it's sometimes you just have to leave it alone and don't make a lot of things and don't change a lot of things at the same time. So maybe I do that as well. But that's the update for this week. The corals are still looking good. You see the fish are happy swimming around. They're definitely hungry, so I give them a little food then after I finish this video. But yeah, let's see where that goes. 3 weeks in, happy to have that little fish room with both tanks at the side. So anybody who looks and has one tank, maybe that's a little inspiration to get a little frag tank on the side if you have space. Yeah, that's it for this week. Thank you guys. See you next week.